Hello dear friends and welcome back to a new social video. It's me Libro and today we're gonna talk about the saddest video game series deaths of all time. It's a Rayman game series. If you don't know what happened to Rayman, let me just give you a small recap. So basically Ubisoft called Rayman to audition for his newest game. As soon as he arrived, a bunch of men in black suits just grabbed him by his arms, and by the way, his arms did not come off like in Rayman 3. Nah, that didn't happen. So they grabbed him outside, then they dug a hole right next to their corporation building. Then they threw Rayman in that hole that they just grabbed without even putting him in a coffin, and then they just buried him alive while Rayman was screaming and crying in pain and agony and most of all fear. You've never heard that one before on television, did you? The most gruesome and secret and gory stuff is never being told on television, so it only makes sense that you've never heard about the story. But it's a truly tragic one, and a rest in peace to our hero. And while all of this was happening, Michael Ansel was basically locked up in a cage in the corner of the room of which they took Rayman away, basically shouting, "Oh no, don't do this, he's my baby boy, he has so much to live for!" But after Ubisoft realized that he was never going to be able to beat Sonic and Mario, the inevitable was already done. They know they had to take care of him. That's the reason why Michelangelo was traumatized ever since and was not able to say anything about this to the public eye, because he still had a family to feed, and he knew well that Ubisoft was capable of hurting him and his family. And you may still see Rayman nowadays in his 2D games, but that's just an imposter. And you can already tell that he's a completely different character because he acts so stupid. So there you go, that's the explanation. The Rayman series had a lot of 2D and 3D games, and all of them were packed with a lot of action and adventure. They were really fun to play, and back in the day, I haven't even heard one bad critic about them. Except when in 2006, I think, a new game was released to the franchise, and it was completely different. Well, actually, it was to 60% different, because there was another Rayman like party type game. It was Rayman Arena and Rayman M. It differentiated the name based on the PlayStation 1 and 2 versions. And those games were kind of like the Mario and Sonic Olympic game type of Rayman games. And they were ahead of the time because those games actually came before the Mario and Sonic franchise. So yeah, good on you, Ubisoft. You could tell that they really experimented with the Rayman series. They even made Gameloft games, and they were called Rayman Golf and Rayman Kart. Even though I've never played both of them, just because I've never owned a Nokia phone that even supported those two games. Yeah, you needed to have a very specific Nokia phone to play all those games. It was pretty sad. At least I got to play Rayman Raving Rabbits for my old Nokia phone. But I get stuck because there was a huge problem. That was those little buttons that the Nokia phones had. They sucked. It made it really agonizing to even play 1 minute of the game until you got hand cramps, finger cramps, or if I may say so, all of them. Yeah, it was very hard to play, and the only reason why I even kept playing it is because it carried the name Rayman on it. That's basically the only thing. It's like a turd covered in gold. And it fooled me, and probably everybody else that owned a Nokia phone. Anyways, those games were amazing. Like, I really liked them. If only the controls were better. For example, if they were released for the Game Boy Advance, just like Rayman 3 and Raving Rabbits, yeah, the version for the Game Boy Advance was completely different and 100 times better. But they still could have maybe ported them as a, for example, DSiWare game. That would have been awesome. They didn't, probably because they thought the games were not good enough, or Gameloft kind of lost the interest or the rights for those Rayman games. I won't even be surprised. I mean, Gameloft made actually a lot of horrible games. Most of them were great, and I'm kind of glad that they're still keeping going strong even today. But yeah, this video is not about Gameloft. It's about Rayman. See, the Rayman franchise is almost so forgotten that even talking about Gameloft at this point makes more sense. It's been 17 years since the last 3D platformer. It came out in 2003, 1 year after I was born. It's so mind-blowing that Michael Ansel wasn't even completely involved in that. I don't even know why, but Michael Ansel was actually pretty successful game designer and game developer. Well, I can't say developer, he basically, well, I think he was a game designer. He came off the Rayman character, the limbless hero that we all know and love. Actually, we all not no, but still love. I mean, I didn't even catch one guy that didn't like Rayman. Maybe my cousin, because he's the PlayStation type of guy that never gives a try to one of those mascots, for example, so Sonic, Mario, and all that, Worms. He never really gives to shoot about those ones. Yeah, maybe he doesn't like it. Yeah, I really don't get why. Anyways, Rayman is amazing. Like, I really love the games, especially free. For example, free will always have a special place in my heart, even though the first game that I've played was 2 for the DS, and for its time, like, a 3D game for the DS was very impressive. So I really fell in love with that game. I fell in love with the character itself. Back in the days we didn't have internet, so I couldn't get more of these games. But actually, 1 year after I played that game for DS, we got a Windows XP laptop. On that, I really researched high and low for a Flash Rayman game, because there were a lot of Flash games for Super Mario and Sonic. So I figured, there must be also a lot for Rayman, right? Wrong, there were only 2, and those were ports for the Game Boy games. So I never really realized this, but now it's safe to say Rayman does not have as many fans as Mario and Sonic, and for a good freaking reason. It's because the creators don't even care for the character, they don't show him enough love, so why should the fans? I mean, at this point even the fans show him more love, and that's pathetic. I mean, imagine Nintendo never stop making Mario 3D games after 3D All-Stars, and maybe we'll see a new one 18 years later. Can you imagine how ridiculous that would be? Fans would go apeshit. Fans would literally go in front of the Nintendo headquarters and protest for them to make a new Mario game. It's ridiculous, it's unimaginable, but that's exactly what we had to even consider doing. Like, at this point it's really getting ridiculous. They almost forgot the existence. Well, then again, we still have a Rayman. Like, the Rayman's last appearance was, I think, a Rayman Mini for the Apple Play Store, no, Apple Store, I think, yeah. And that's just a mobile game, and it basically uses the same fronts of Rayman Legends and Origins, which we've already seen some, I think 3 times already. No, 5 times. Rayman Origins, Legends, Rayman Fiesta Run, Rayman Jungle Run, and Rayman Adventures. And now we're seeing the same dang fronts of all these characters, the art style, 6th time with Rayman Mini. I didn't even bother playing it, because judging from the trailer, it's gonna be the same shoot. Probably it's going to feel slightly more different, but all we want to see is a new Rayman 3D platformer, or a completely new idea, a great new Rayman 2D game. That would be amazing. Like, I really want to see something new at this point, even though those games were amazing. They were all amazing, and for some reason Rayman Jungle Run cannot be played anymore on the Google Play Store for some reason. See, they don't even bother. They are still selling an unplayable game on one of the most famous gaming platforms of all time. And with platforms, I mean the most used, almost one of the most used gaming buying websites, I think, like service. There we go. It's Google Play Store. They are selling one of those Rayman games, even though there was a bug that doesn't allow us to play the game anymore. I've already emailed them a couple of times and told them, hey, look, I paid for this game. Actually, I really did, and luckily I was able to refund it. So you know what? I think one of them actually, one of the guys in Ubisoft actually realized this. They realized this error, this glitch. So at least they gave us a way to refund our money. They knew they messed up, but yet again they never fixed the problem. And I don't know why. Rayman Jungle Run was an amazing game. I finished it on my tablet that doesn't even work anymore. The screen, for some reason, I used the wrong charger for it, and that's the reason why the screen blacked out and I can't play it anymore. So yeah, since I mentioned that, I also want to mention, always use the charger that comes with the device itself. If it either gets lost or broken, then try to research a charger that has the same wattage as the one that came with the actual device, for your information and for your own good and for your own money. Definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, it's really sad to see the series like not being as alive as anymore. For example, even Crash Bandicoot got a remaster of the trilogy, the first trilogy. Imagine Rayman getting a remaster of the first trilogy. That would be the tits. And on top of that, Crash got a fourth game. And I'm very happy for all the die-hard Crash Bandicoot fans. I mean, good on them. I mean, they probably waited a long time for that to happen. And after the long patience and wait, they got what they deserved, and definitely that's also what Rayman should deserve. Like, the fans even made a reanimated collab of the 4 episodes of the TV series, and yes, Rayman, he actually was a peak of his popularity back when Rayman 2 was released. So they made an animated series about him for 4 episodes, which had almost nothing to do with the games at all. They gave him a complete new plot with complete new characters. It didn't even work that much. Like, imagine Mario starring in Fast and Furious with all the bad A gang members and the car drivers. Like, that doesn't fit, but that's exactly what we have experienced. We didn't like it that much, but I, as a hardcore Rayman fan, still loved it. I mean, it wasn't like that bad. It wasn't something that hurt the Rayman series by any means. In fact, I would have loved to watch it again, but for some reason a cancelled series like that still has a German dub, which I found pretty hilarious. Like, imagine a cancelled series that only has 4 episodes getting dubbed in 3 different languages. Yeah, but I guess they really had high hopes. That, you know what, that also proves that Rayman really was loved. They really thought that that idea is going to catch fire. Well, too bad they just waited in front of a cow to just take a dump on them. They really let down the dubbers and even the fans at that time, which is really sad. If you guys played Rayman 3, you know what? At least they made a Rayman HD remaster, I think. I don't know if it's remake or remaster, but basically they re-released Rayman 3, which actually came out for PlayStation 2 and GameCube, to the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Network for, I think, only for $10, and probably now it's even way less cheaper, which is amazing. It's a nice touch. But here's my question: why the heck didn't you release that one for the PC? Like, there are way more PC owners than PlayStation 3. That really was weird. I mean, I never owned a PlayStation 3, but I would have loved to play that HD remaster again on my PC. Too bad they didn't do that. Yeah, that just shows that they really didn't care that much for the franchise. And then Rayman Raving Rabbids happened. The rabbits, basically that was also the first appearance of the rabbits. We never saw them before. So they made their first appearance in Rayman Raving Rabbids, and it turned into a party game, which we only saw one thing that was similar to this in Rayman Arena, which came out years before that game ever existed. And you know, I can kind of see from where they're going with this. I mean, for example, the Rayman Raving Rabbids games were specifically, I think, made for the Wii, and Michael Ansel wanted to try something different. I can understand that, but that doesn't come off as a good thing for die-hard hardcore fans of the franchise. We didn't even knew that we should have expected a party game, even though it clearly says, I think, a party game in the back of the cover, so you really got no one to blame. But if you want your game to make doughs and sell well, you should have just given us the same formula. And you even had a prototype of the 4th game. We saw a few screenshots and they look pretty amazing. They look pretty colorful. We had a lot of high hopes. But too bad you basically just pulled up a dildo and just stuck it up our butts. And we weren't even prepared. You didn't even loop that. That was freaking raw. So a lot of years later, so for example, that franchise continued for 3 series. And the more it went on, the less Rayman had to do with the actual series, but rather Michael Ansel focused on the rabbits more than Rayman, which I really find hilarious. Imagine there comes a new Sonic game out, and instead of Sonic, we get to see the Minions, but we've never seen the Minions before. The Minions and Sonic do a collaboration, okay? And then the next game, Sonic is barely playable. Like, there are 4 playable characters, Sonic is just one of them. The other 3 are the Minions, okay? And in the next game, Sonic is not even playable. You can only play as the Minions, and Sonic only makes an appearance in the cutscenes. And after that, many years ago, later, you're never gonna see another Sonic game again. But rather, they give you a new 2D Sonic, Sonic Mania. But not Sonic Forces though. Let's pretend that never happened. Like, because in this Rayman situation, that also never happened. Just imagine that. Imagine how horrible it is for new characters to be introduced in the same franchise, and then they just basically taking the space of the franchise, and just to be never seen again. That old franchise to be never seen again. That's just horrible. That's one of the worst things that could happen to a franchise. But that's exactly what happened to Rayman. You know, at least it could have been worse. At least we could have not seen anything Rayman related for years. At least they're still keeping it up with the 2D games, and they're always fun to play. At least they give you a run for their money. But after demanding it for so long, and the fact that we still don't have a new 3D Rayman platform, is just basically Ubisoft's way of saying, we just care for money, we don't care for fans, we don't care for Rayman fans. Just because Rayman games are not being sold well, they just probably don't want to do a Rayman 4. If the for example, Rayman 3 was only sold 2 million copies, now that's sad, and I think that's counting all the platforms, PC, GameCube, even Game Boy Advance, and PlayStation 2. I mean, I would have loved for that game to sell well. Unfortunately, I was only born in 2002, so I had no way of even getting that game. They could have re-released it, and they did for PlayStation 3. Too bad I was a Nintendo guy and completely missed out on that opportunity. It's sad. At least I really, you know what? I, as a Rayman fan, think I contributed to the success by buying TV Party for the DS, Raving Rabbids for the PlayStation 2, Rayman 3 for the PlayStation, which those games were so old by the time when I was a kid and wanted to get into the Rayman franchise that I had, the only way I could get them was in GameStop. And you know, that is long before the selling area, so they probably made no profit by those games. It was basically just GameStop already buying those games and then reselling them. And obviously Ubisoft never even got 1 cent of those games, unfortunately. Heck, I even got Raving Rabbids for the PlayStation 2 in a flea market yard sale. I said that in German, by the way. It's just really sad. I would have loved if they just continued making 3D games. Imagine, by this time, in 17 years, imagine how many 3D Rayman games they could have done. At least 5. At least 5. That would have been amazing. Rayman up to 8. Imagine seeing Rayman 8 for the PlayStation 5. I would get that console just for that game. I kid you not, I'm that big of a Rayman fan. It really sucks though, just because Ubisoft didn't see it doing so well. They just unplugged the plug and just gave us a middle finger and said, well, move on. As long as this franchise is not selling well, we will also not make games about it. We will just stop making games about it, and you go back to Mario, whatever you're doing. But hey, here's Beyond Good and Evil. Too bad you have to also wait years for the sequel to come out. See, it makes no sense. And now the worst thing that could have ever happened, or we would have never hoped it to happen, happened. Michelangelo, the creator of Rayman, left the gaming industry. When I heard that, I had a few seconds, suicidal seconds of jumping out the freaking window. Maybe off the first floor, like not suicidal, but I still had the intent to freaking injure myself so that I would at least think that it's a dream or something like that. But no, this is freaking real life. I pinched myself, I screamed, and then the neighbor came to our doors and shouted at us. And that still didn't change the fact that this was 100% real. Yeah, the shock that I felt, it was ridiculous, bro. It's over. They basically put the last nail on the Rayman coffin. Our limbless hero is basically suffocating under the earth for us to never see him again. I mean, I don't even know, like, are the rights still there for Rayman? I think so. I think the rights to make Rayman games are still to Ubisoft. But the craziest thing is, how doesn't there exist at least one guy that cares for the character Rayman and wants to make a new 3D platformer for him? How doesn't there exist not even one guy? I know a lot of Rayman fans. They would give their hearts to even get the rights to make a 3D platformer. But the guys themselves, really don't give a shoot about Rayman. It's ridiculous and it's mind-blowing. And the fact that Rayman was pretty popular in the PlayStation 1 era. Like, I think in one city or one land, the most sold, actually one continent, I think, in one region, it was either Europe or Asia, I think. Like, Rayman 1 for PlayStation 1 was the best sold PlayStation 1 game. Despite that, they give two fuffs about him now, and we still don't see anything new to him. You know what? I vote Rayman for the next Smash character. I really hope he does. If you already checked my audio reaction to Steve for Smash Bros, you would already tell that I really wanted to see Rayman there. I would have literally shat my pants if that happened. But too bad that didn't happen. And probably, you know what? I'm not even gonna keep my hopes high for this. I mean, at this point, I would even accept a second Spirit in that game as long as I get to see Rayman again, because that still gives me a false hope that something is going to happen. But I don't want to get heart shattered again, so I'm not even going to keep my hopes that high. All I'm going to say is I really want to see a new Rayman game, and I would love to contribute. I mean, if you guys have a Patreon, Ubisoft, just to make this a reality, I would donate a few bucks. Why not? I mean, I would love to see my second favorite video game hero on a big screen again. The first one being Mario, obviously, because Nintendo just loves him as much as I do. Yeah, he basically formed my childhood, kind of how Rayman did. And you know, I still play Rayman games. They're so fun. Even the DS Rayman Raving Rabbits. I mean, at this point, I just want to see anything Rayman related and give it a try, because I love the character, I love the story. I would love to see a new story, and love to see where the series is heading next. Hopefully with a new 3D platformer. Anyways, I think I'm done with this. See you guys next time.